of the intervention by Infrastructure Australia as a result of the problems that we're here. Now, the problems that we're here with exporting are for a number of reasons, and it is not correct to say it's just because of the location of Tasmania. It is also a fact that the high Australian dollar has had a real impact in terms of Australia's exports across industries. It is also the case that in terms of the federal government, we contributed $92.4 million last year through the Tasmanian Freight Equalisation Scheme. Now, what we did in terms of the review that was conducted was looked at ways in which that could perhaps be done more effectively. We had meetings today, indeed, with industry this afternoon here in Launceston, but also in Hobart, and I met with the Tasmanian government earlier today as well. In addition to that, as a result directly of the lobbying by Jeff and by Sid Sidebottom and Dick Adams and other Tasmanian members, we made available $20 million additional. So on top of the $92.4 million, $20 million additional in a tight budget circumstance to provide assistance, one, to Tasmanian exporters directly, and I think from memory it was around $14 million of direct subsidy. But in addition to that, money to assist with infrastructure development, particularly the port at Burnie, and then $1.5 million for the establishment of this group that will drive the change that is necessary in terms of to put the situation on a sustainable footing. So we certainly recognise Tasmania's special circumstances as an island state. That's why we've established this scheme. That's why we've put it in terms of additional changes as well that have impacted on this electorate, including some of the intrastate freight in terms of the islands, Flinders and King. So we expanded the program. We continue to acknowledge that it's an issue. We're working through with industry, but there aren't simple solutions to what's a very complex issue.
Thank you very much. So thank you. We'll take a question from this block here. I'll take the young lady just there. Yes, you.
My name's Sally Price. I'm a local student in Year 12. There was immense critical reaction after Australia allowed a US military base in Darwin. Considering our regional context and our economic reliance on Chinese investment, what do you see as Australia's future in the catch-22 between China and America? Where would you best like to see Australia ally?
Thank you. I don't believe it is a catch-22. So I loved that novel when I was in school too, but I don't believe it's a catch-22. I actually think we can continue our very long-term alliance with America and have a strong, robust relationship with China. So we did take the decision to have rotate in and out for training 2,500 Marines into the Northern Territory. I think we've got to get a little bit practical about this. I don't think anybody would seriously suggest 2,500 Marines would be viewed as something threatening to a nation the size of China. They are there for training for around 6 months of the year. It's a pretty tough place to train, the Northern Territory, but that's the training environment that they'll be in. That's, a step forward in an alliance that we have had with America since we turned to them in the days of World War II. There's nothing that's not known by China of all this history. It's not like they've suddenly gone, gee, Australia's got an alliance with the United States of America. They've known that as part of our history and part of our shaping as a nation, that has been our long-term defence arrangement. And I think it will be a defence arrangement that endures for a very long period of time to come, all of my lifetime, and I suggest probably all of yours as well. In the context of having that defence alliance, we do have a very strong relationship with China. A lot of stuff gets written in the media about this, where I think the analysis is, to be frank, very, very superficial. at every level, from the political level, business level, people-to-people links, academic links, military discussions. At every level, we are deeply engaged with China. They are a strong economic partner. They are going to be a nation that shapes much of the history of this century that we are living in, and we are working hard on that relationship being one not where we'll always agree, because we won't, but any differences are managed through in a very amicable way. So I am very confident that we can do both. Thank you. Take a question over here. I'll take the lady just there. Yes, you, the lady with her hand up.
Hi, Prime Minister. I'm Ruth Groom. Do you want to be remembered as the government that allowed mining in areas of the Tarkine reserved by the Howard government?
Okay. Thanks for your question, and I've been asked about this today too. I've, in a handy fashion, brought the world's greatest experts. I'll actually have Minister Burke answer your question for you.
Thanks very much. No, genuinely. I've spent a fair bit of time in this region, and I've made sure that I've gone through the region separately with the environmental groups and separately with industry. Now, I can't give you an answer right now on individual applications. If I give an indication as to where I head on those in advance of making the decision, whatever I decide gets knocked out in court. So there's some limitations on how I can answer. I don't believe your characterisation of the Howard government is altogether fair. They commenced a process of assessing whether or not there were national heritage values there. At no stage did they put a listing on. And you couldn't put sensibly a listing across the entirety of the Tarkine. You've got the Savage River mine, open cut mine, right in the middle of it. When I've been bushwalking in the area, some of the bushwalking tracks I've been on, I've looked down at my feet and there's railway lines there from previous mining operations, and I've walked through old aqueducts. I've also been kayaking in some of the most pristine and beautiful places that I've seen. And whatever decisions we end up making, I think need to recognise that in that entire region of the northwest, that these days is colloquially very regularly referred to the Tarkine, which very close to the indigenous term that was used, that it is an area where there has been for a long time some areas where there is significant industry, and that has continued. There are also some areas that are relatively pristine, where you have the largest connected temperate rainforest that you will find, and there are some areas which are going to be worthy of significant levels of protection. But to say you can just use the term Tarkine and give a blanket answer across the whole region, from everything that I've seen, the one thing I'm sure of is you can't do that.
We'll come across to this block for another question. Yes, you, sir. Yep.
My name's Jeff McClintock. My question relates to overseas development assistance, but probably coming from a different perspective to the previous question. Around the time the carbon tax was introduced, an independent study found that the impact of that was expected to be around 0.5% on household budgets. Some of your ministers used that figure to say that it was an almost insignificantly low amount. If 0.5% is an insignificant amount, why is Australia, as one of the richest countries in the world, once again stalling on our commitment to contribute 0.5% or 50 cents out of every $100 official development assistance towards the extraordinarily significant task of eradicating extreme poverty in the world's poorest countries?
Thanks for your question. I think we've seen in the hall some different views on this, and that's a good thing. That's one of the reasons we have Community Cabinet. We've